Well, viewers, this is Bhavana, and I welcome you all to 19 Influencers Talk on COVID-19 series in association with TechXP. Well, viewers, our next influencer after studying films at San Francisco Art Institute and assisting Fable director duo Vaman Guru, produced 5 super hit Hindi movies and subsequently forayed into international co-production ventures like the Indo-Finnish British co-production film The Real McCoy in 1999. His project, The Square Circle, which was amongst the Time magazine's top 10 pick, world premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival and had its US premiere at the Hamptons International Film Festival, received 2 awards at the Valenciennes Film Festival and received excellent reviews at the Singapore International Film Festival. Well, viewers, our next influencer also produced the English movie Refuge in 2002, and in that same year, he collaborated with iconic director Suresh Krishna on Telugu film for Nimbus Motion Pictures, and was invited to be a creative director for Sunil Shetty's company, Popcorn Motion Pictures. Well, viewers, he's somebody who's produced a large-scale Bollywood musical stage event called Bollywood, a Love Story, directed by Remo. Well, this musical went international with shows in Finland and Sweden. Viewers, our influencer has been an honorable guest lecturer at 2 of America's finest schools, the Yale University and the University of Texas at Austin. Viewers, help me welcome none other than the Managing Director, Sippy Productions Private Limited, Pravesh Sippy. So Pravesh, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling locked in, locked down. Everything is really tough to stay positive through this last 5 months, but it's all good. It's all good. It's as good as we can make it out to be, and I think I've been achieving a fair sum of good work through this imprisonment in the house. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Pravesh, once again for joining us on this. Now, Pravesh, I've got a set of questions, and I'm sure the viewers are looking forward to hearing your perspective for the same. So, Pravesh, my first question is, I'm really fascinated with your personal story, and you're carrying forward your family legacy of Sippy Productions since 1958. And how has the production aspect changed over all these years?
I haven't been around since 1958. I'm born in 1964. I took over the mantle in the 80s. 1984 was the first film that I made for the banner, which was Meri Jung. So, yeah, but then maintaining the legacy, keeping it alive, looking after all our material, our actual physical assets, the negatives, and all of that, which is an expensive and a fairly tedious year-round process. And a lot of old producers don't do that. They don't have stuff. They don't have stuff in good condition. Collectors find a lot of things in somebody's garbage somewhere, and literally dig it out of there. We've read so many stories recently in the newspapers. So I decided that I had to keep it all not only alive, but in good shape. So I earn a lot, and I invest a fair sum of that back in maintaining everything there is, because that's what it is all about, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So the movie business has changed completely, Bhavana. From being a creative process, it's become a commercial process. That is the biggest change over time, as I see it from the time I came into the business. I'm sure when my dad was there in the stories I've heard, he decided on something. He picked up the phone, he called the actor, they met for dinner. There was a yes or a no, and then that was it. There was no other thing. Then it was the creative process. It was the one-on-one thing, the relationship that saw it all through. There was faith, there was trust, there was faith as a filmmaker, there was faith on the commerce part of it. There were no issues. In those days, I believe they made contracts at the end of the movie more for the authorities and the taxes to be filed and all of that. but it wasn't really a contract that was made. Today you get like a 50-page, 80, 100-page contract with, and lawyers are fighting over it, with each other for months and weeks. And uh, I recently lost a 3-film contract. It was with a big corporate, and my lawyer just didn't get along with the corporate's lawyer,
Okay.
and she uh, stuck to her guns on what was drafted, and then the corporate wanted things a little changed as it went along and it evolved. And being a client, pretty much said, I said to her, I'm okay, be flexible, I'm okay with that, just wrap it up, let's get the deal, let's go out there and make those 3 films. But over a contractual issue that dragged on for 6 months, the corporate lost interest, I suppose. Egos came in between the 2 lawyers. The deal didn't happen. The
Sure.
deal didn't happen. So that's how it's changed. I mean, it's out of our control. It's not the one-on-one. It's not the personal touch. It's a lot of delegation. It's a lot of dependence on everybody at every process, from the time you make it, get going, to the time you make it, to the time you bring it out. Earlier, a producer uh, would, control the creatives and the plan to, there will be 20 hoardings in Bombay and I'm going to do this, that, and the other. But today, the corporate's marketing team moves in for their job. Somebody else moves in for their job. The distributor, we had exhibitors coming to our office and talking to us uh, literally, and all of that happened. Today we don't see. I don't know. I mean, I know who owns the multiplexes, but I've never met Ajay Bijli, or I've never met the owners of Inox or anyone. I just met some people at the right designation. They may change over time. They have changed over time, and that's how it works. You just meet new people and heads, and it's important who you're communicating with, and that's all that matters. That's how it is. That's how it is. So the passion's gone.
Sure. So, Pravesh, well, a lot has changed in the production aspect. Pravesh, I want to ask you another question is that what appealed to you personally to take forward your family legacy? Were you always inclined to it? And when was it that you actually took that decision?
The ninth grade.
Okay.
I was in school, ninth standard. Sargam had happened. I think Dad was tired, probably contemplating retirement. From Vokonti, 1964 to 1979. It was one long, continuous journey, churning a film or 2 out every year. All of that, and I think the kind of success he saw with Sargam, he probably wanted to retire. So if I'd said no, I'm not interested in this business, he just might have. So it was, yeah, from there that where I told him, yes, please hang in there, make a few more films till I grow up and come ready to take over. Yeah, so that's what happened. And if you see the graph, then it was 79 was Sargam, then Gazab happened in 81, and then Meri Jung happened only when I came back, which was 84, 85. So Dad had slowed down. Yeah. So it was at that time. Yes.
Sure thing. Pravesh, also wanted to ask you, as you rightly, you were just pointing towards it, that, you did films at San Francisco Art Institute, and you had also assisted fabled editor duo Vaman Guru. How much of your educational experience add to your professional chart of producing 5 super hit Hindi films, Pravesh?
This is a dog eat dog business. Education has no meaning and no funda. Yeah, it's good to know a few technical things so that the
Sure.
team doesn't take you for a ride as a producer, and sometimes you can contribute with a technical idea to overcome a hurdle. All of that is fine. That's where the education certainly comes in handy. But basically, the mindset of the education in the US, that I had to completely unlearn when I came back.
Okay.
my own father said, "ये America नहीं है, ये ऐसा नहीं होता है, वो वैसा नहीं होता है. You can't do this, and you can't do it this way." You know, and sure enough, on the street, so to say, on the set, it was a different ball game altogether. So education is very, very important.
Hmm.
Uh, it just gives you the confidence and the knowledge about what's going on. But I had to completely unlearn that whole aspect. Technique, storytelling, what we were taught there, the pace of an art school kind of film, and the pace of a Bollywood masala Hindi potboiler is completely different. So yeah, all of that in the early 80s, I could not come back and say we can make movies, Hindi movies without songs. No way. Songs were an integral part, remain an integral part, of a film. Yes, we've learned over time to not have a 7-minute long song on screen. We may have it as a 7-minute long song on our soundtrack, but on film, it doesn't go beyond 3.5 minutes usually. So that all that adjustment, you keep evolving as your audience evolves, and but a song is a song, and it's needed for storytelling in our films. So yeah, that's my take on the education part of it. uh, Very different in reality when you come here. Can't go by the book.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to ask you one thing, Pravesh. Personally, what has been your biggest learning from your dad, N. Sippy Sahab? What has been your biggest learning from him?
To be honest and dedicated and sincere to the work. So what I'm saying is, there are no shortcuts. I saw him. I grew up seeing him be the first man on the set, the last man back home. Um, he knew exactly what was going on, what was expected of the day. Um, he knew uh, the lines and the script by heart. And I've seen many scripts with his own handwritten notes and things. So he would do homework and have his thoughts and input, and not just completely depend on the director and someone else and take their word for it that it was done and it was done right. He knew what he wanted in his film, and he made sure he got it. So all of that kind of stuff from him. And of course, I think he basically always said, try and make a film that appeals to a wider audience from age 5 to age 80. Everyone should be able to see it. Don't go niche, don't go niche, don't go niche, is what he told me, which now I think I've gone niche, pretty niche.
Sure. Pravesh, also, I wanted to ask you another question is, I've seen that you have an excellent site for content, and I want to personally ask you is what kind of projects interest you? Those who you will back, and honestly, I'm amazed with your choice of films you've produced. So, could you tell us
Thank
on that as well?
Yeah, thank you for noticing that. So that's taken me away from mainstream Bollywood pot boiler setup. I have not been repetitive after doing the Meri Jungs all the way up to Aaj Ka Gunda Raj and the other films that I did, and I had great fun and success with all the films that I did in that space. And then I got bored of it. Honestly, I got bored of it. It was empty. It was frivolous, and I just realized by then that the power of this medium,
Hmm.
we can use it. We can use it constructively to give a message to people. Sometimes you do try and entertain them with it, and then it's a bigger commercial success. For example, Padman that Akshay Kumar did recently. That in a sense is what I'm trying to say. It's great if you can get a commercial base and yet do something like that. I really appreciate that kind of work. And quite a few films out of Bollywood recently have attempted that kind of space. But what it did to me is it took me into a slightly more, um, I wouldn't call it a personal space, because it's not completely a personal kind of thing. It's more of working with people that I want to work with the kind of mindset, the kind of story they want to tell, and I see a possibility of us collaborating to be able to make that happen, because it is slightly difficult and not easy for everybody to bring that out and reach it out to the audience as well. A lot of good niche films are made and then they never see the light of day. So that's where my background, my commercial elements, and other things come into play. But I stick with the principle of what the content should be and who I'm working with. So recently, I've had a completely diverse kind of portfolio, if you want to call it that. A bunch of films, a bouquet of films that you'd never imagine the same filmmaker, is doing it. So My Home India, which is a documentary, but a fantastic story of a very phenomenal Polish woman who brought a lot of people into India during the World War, uh, and settled them in Kolhapur. And there's a third generation community that still exists, a Polish Marathi. There are kids there that speak both languages and have Polish blood in them. They're Maharashtrians. you know
Absolutely.
so that phenomenal lady's phenomenal story of the odds of bringing them from Siberia to Kolhapur in India in those days, is a fabulous story. Um, I've been the associate producer on Mukti Bhavan, which is a fabulous father-son story. Uh, so all these films made its mark. We believed in them. We put it out to the right audience in the right manner. Each one has to be handled very differently. So that's where the fun is. A mainstream Bollywood film, it's the same formula. You got to put it out in X number of thousand screens. You got to do, four things for it, and the audience will be there, and they'll probably be there because of the star that you have, the fan base that they have, and it takes off. No rocket science, no effort, no nothing, basics. But in each of these films, you got to take it a different path. So we took My Home India right up on merit into the Oscar long list. We were out there in the Oscar run on merit, So I had a PR team in the US that was working for me. It's something that I did for the first time. It was really an interesting aspect, positioning the film and pushing it up to there. So all of those things make each one of these kind of projects very unique and interesting. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you, thinking, because it's not easy. Like I said, it's you've got to pull some trick out of the hat and make it work. Make it happen. Right now, there's something that I'm working on with a six-time national award director, Kirit Khurana. He and I have worked a lot together. We've done. I was part of his Pravasi films. The one with Tapsi Pannu just did. So.
Right.
Yeah, so I was part of that now, and with him, I've done the Saeed Mirza documentary, which was on Netflix recently.
Yes.
Then I've done with him. He's finished a film called Tea for Taj Mahal, and I was instrumental in setting it up for him. And then I wasn't part of that project, but again, I was associated there in a limited fashion. That film won a lot of awards internationally. And when it was time to come back to India, the producer unfortunately got killed in a terror attack in Istanbul, if you remember, a few years ago on New Year's Eve.
Oh
So
my
he was there on New Year's Eve, and Abis Rizvi was shot there, and the film then didn't come out, unfortunately. But it's done great wonders in the festival circuit and with the international audiences. With Kirit, I'm doing something that's very, very special. It's a film called The Invisible Visible. The Hindi title is Ek Koshish, and it's a story about the homeless. Homelessness is a world problem. I lived in San Francisco. That used to be the capital of the homeless people. It still is. It's still very scary. You're walking down this real plush street, and you make one wrong left turn, and you are in this you know, a very, very sad situation you find yourself in. And one always looks at it and then looks away. You know, we beggars come to our cars, and we don't even look at them. We don't acknowledge them. That's why the invisible visible, you know. And the laws in this country are draconian and ancient, and uh, a lot of things. I'm not going to give out what's in the film, but the point I'm making is that the story, the film will be one that will open eyes, will give you some hair-raising stories and incidents, and what happens with these unfortunate people. Uh, we've just a couple of weeks ago got our Balki and his director wife Gauri Shinde on board. Um, They're helping us creatively with the finishing. They've given us a national award winning editor in Anil Naidu to supervise our edit and the final cut. They're going to help us with marketing it. So that film goes a notch above and will reach out to a lot more people in the right fashion with Balki's and Gauri's expert advice and help, you know. So that film, I think, is already on its way with that kind of an association. Um, we are running a little slow in COVID times on the finishing because we also are looking still for about 20, 25 lakhs finishing funds because we want to now put it into a certain category in the finishing. No compromises, quality, because it is an international problem. It is an international subject. We have a great impact producer in Rashmi Lamba, who's very experienced doing what she does. She's going to, make sure people see it overseas and in the festivals and where it matters. That film will be noticed. I can take a bet on that today. So I'm glad I'm doing stuff like this now. Uh, Money follows. They all. I mean, Said Mirza was on Netflix. Uh, you know, uh, they all find their commerce. Yeah, it's not one that gives you 100 crores overnight, and I can't take a chopper from here to come meet you because there's a police bandobast somewhere down the road. It doesn't allow all of that, but it all pays for itself. And the point is, if we can make a difference with even 5 people, who see that, I think I've achieved. So yeah, I'm doing all that kind of very different stuff. Very different stuff. Mukti Bhavan was a proper feature film. These are documentaries, and I'm also still very much in the commercial space. I have 3 web series designed, 2 in advanced stages of development. We've already shot a promo for one. We've got the entire episodes written in detail and the Bible and whatever that every OTT needs. It's all running late again, affected by COVID. I was supposed to sign off on one project with a very big production house. They are partners at Netflix as an approved producer. Netflix has their set of approved producers that they work with, or preferred producers as they are. So I was in association with them. That project would have probably gone further ahead to an OTT like Netflix.
Hmm.
We were scheduled to do all our signing and meetings in March, and the COVID pandemic lockdown and everything started in March, and we are still locked down. So I don't know now where that project goes and how it really gets affected. But I know it's certainly delayed now 5 months already.
Sure.
So, but yeah, commercial space, commercial work, 3 web series, 1 feature film, which is a biopic on a sports personality. That's in development right now. I have a writer and a director in place. We've got to do a little more work, get the rights, and then start pitching it to a studio or wherever I decide the way to take it forward. But yeah, so some big things are also around the corner. Yeah.
Absolutely. Pravesh, What I would always gauge from our conversation is your, the kind of work you're supporting is impactful. So I would always quote it as impactful work Mr. Pravesh Sippy is doing in for the industry. So kudos to you, and I'm always so amazed because that's the kind of media even I, as a consumer, would like to back or would like to be featured in, because it's all about the right impact. So thank you so much for that. Pravesh, I wanted to ask you also, all your films, all the projects you've done have done wonders in the international circuit as well. Could you also take a moment to guide the independent filmmakers on how best they should approach the international space? And what sort of challenges would one normally face, Pravesh?
Ah, every project has its own destiny. Every project has its own hurdles. Every project is a difficult one to achieve. An independent film, a niche film, is all that more difficult. Don't just start making it in bits and bobs. Don't make it till you know the very end for it. At least have the plan, uh, and be certain that you will be able to, put that plan in place. So then I'm talking about making it and being able to put it out there in the international film circuit, building its reputation, doing your PR and all of that there, creating an aura for the film, and then bring it back to your home audience who respects it somehow that much more and get more interested in it with the awards and reviews that you bring back with it. Because usually those films don't have uh, a superstar on the poster. And in India, anybody I meet, anybody from no matter what strata of society, when they hear I'm a filmmaker, the first question they ask is, "आप film बना रहे हो? Starcast क्या है?" Starcast नहीं है. मेरे पास सलमान खान नहीं है. You know.
Got it.
But I'm making a great film. I'm making a good film. Will you see it? Ah, well, maybe I'll see it. Keep me posted about it. But if it's the next Salman Khan film, they know the release date already well in advance. Salman Khan ki wo film us date pe aa rahi hai. They know that. So that's the difference. So you have to be smart in your filmmaking. You can make a real good quality film in a fairly decent budget in quick time. You don't need, like we do in our big Bollywood stuff, 80, 100 people, unit members, and 80, 100 crores to make it, and all of that is not required. I've worked on films that we finished. Refuge was an American film that I worked with, co-produced that, and we shot it in all of 17 days.
17 days,
1-7 on location in Goa. That's it. No patchwork, no coming back, no 1 day, 2 day, half day elsewhere because something was left out or forgotten. It was all broken down on paper. The unit was bare minimum. Most of the unit members were international, the key heads. And then, of course, all local crew because we shot it entirely in Goa. I had a lot of guidance from the master. It was an Ismail Merchant presentation. This film was just before he passed. And actually that kind of delayed it and put a lot of, because he was going to market the film and put it out there to the world audience. And then he took ill and then he passed away very soon. But as we were planning and executing it, we took a lot of guidance from the great man. Ismail was fabulous. Merchant Ivory made some fabulous small budget yet very successful films. So it's all possible. So stay focused, believe, execute smartly, carry it all the way through. Don't let anything pull you down. See it through. That's the only way. You've got to be mentally strong, that I have to hold its hand, and it's going to be a long journey. It's going to be a 2-year walk with this one. It won't just get ready, come out, done. You're over and done with it from all perspectives. That's basically, and don't make a film nobody wants to buy or nobody wants to watch. So, you can make meaningful films, you can make quality films. You don't have to make obscure stuff that's not going to interest anyone in the name of trying to be artistic or whatever.
Sure.
That's what I'd like to tell them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Pravesh, in your previous answer, you were talking about the impact of COVID-19 on, all the upcoming releases or the current projects, right? Now, how you as a production house, how are you bracing with this impact of COVID-19 currently?
I have a new film. It's called The River of Love. It's ready.
Oh,
I,
yes.
g- I got it censored in a hurry because I had to apply for the national awards to qualify for the national awards this year and to put it out into the international film festival circuit. We had applied to about 8 of the top film festivals.
Okay.
I think about 7 of them canceled this year because of COVID. So my international journey for the film is completely gone. This year is gone. They're not, I don't know what will happen. Will they want a film, a 1-year-old film next year? There will be newer films. There will be more films to choose from. Will I still get in next year? It's an unknown uh, area there. Um, the national awards are delayed. If it was done on time, and if I had to win an award, I would then automatically here qualify for a straightaway slot on Doordarshan, for example. I'm keen that the audience sees my film, and a reasonable budget film uh, that is designed for a niche audience overseas mainly. And like I said, the idea is to build its reputation, come back with a few awards and great reviews, and then interest a fair amount of people here to watch it. And also for your OTT platforms to take greater interest in it in the sense of offering us a better price. They still might take it today, but it won't be the same because there's nothing to back it in the sense of awards and reviews and their marketing hooks that they need. They may still like it, they may still take it and premiere it, but so it affects me personally on that one film right away, which I'm sitting with now ready, and honestly right now I haven't given it a thought, but I just might look into premiering it on an OTT straight for digital if I can help that happen. And everything else that was originally planned and designed and the movie executed in a certain fashion is not happening anymore, will not happen. And I've got to deal with that. And then the OTT is the one way out. Otherwise that film might just sit and I don't know what happens with it next year. I lost the web series, as I said. It's delayed. We were about to sign up and get going and steamrolling it ahead in March, and now it's all scattered. And the writer is in London, unable to come here. The partner producer hasn't got back to work and probably has a lot of their own incomplete projects and cash flows and everything gone awry. So, when it's time for me to reach out to them, I will find out if they're still interested and how we could restructure. But everything, the deal, the budgets, everything may change, who knows?
Absolutely.
So that's my personal impact of COVID on me personally, on some new content.
Sure. Pravesh, you were just talking about, a lot of projects premiering, let's say, directly on the OTT platforms. And we're seeing that as a consumer as well, that many of the projects are directly premiering on the OTT platform. Now, do you see, Pravesh, that this trend, absolutely it is establishing because it's viable currently, but do you also see it as a long-term strategy?
Absolutely. It's the new norm. In my opinion, it's the new norm. And I appreciate the fact that all these guys have taken the step and premiered on the OTT. Everybody has to worry about, it keeps the producer alive. If he was stuck with this big, let's take the recent premiere, the first one to do this, Gulabo Sitabo, and Shujit Sarkar. I'm glad he did it because the fact that he's made some money and put it out there, he succeeded on two counts. One, people have seen his film, and two, he's made money, so he can start thinking about his next film as soon as this lockdown and all these issues are over and done with. So otherwise, the Akshay Kumar films and all the others that have been announced now on various platforms, the cost of production, the interest running, waiting for cinemas to open, will make those projects, no matter how much business they do when it reopens, it's going to be termed a flop, a loss. So why get into that space? Make your money, let the people see the film that's fresh in their minds. They were waiting for it. They knew, and they are looking for those titles because they were already advertising. They were already in the minds of people. Let them watch it. Let the producer take money home and move on to his next one in a smarter way for post-COVID times. The cinema will never die. Humans like to mingle. We like to go out. It's a great sort of family outing. It's a great outing on a date. It's a great children's birthday parties or whatever is designed around a movie. And that's why we have all the different genres. So people will go back to the theater the minute they're convinced they're well and they're safe. That's the only concern. And big films are designed for the big screen. A Tenet, a James Bond, a Suryavanshi. These movies need to be seen on the big screen and will be seen. Everybody has to innovate with the change that this has brought into our lives. So I believe in the US, a lot of Walmart car parks are becoming drive-in cinemas.
Yeah, absolutely.
I read that in the Variety, and I think that's a fabulous idea. People want to go out as soon as cinemas open with the social distancing and all the other care that they took. As soon as cinemas opened in Korea, in the US, in certain parts like Texas and all were first to open, yes, maybe the cases went up and numbers. Who knows if it's really directly because people went into a movie theater. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert on that. But but what I'm saying is people went out. People went into the movie theater. Okay, so 30 people instead of 100 are seated right now. That may become 50 and become 70 and will become 100 all over again. It will take a couple of years. It's not going to die. No way. No way. But premiering on OTT, there's nothing wrong with it in my opinion. And cashing at the moment, if you have to call it that, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a smart business move. Like I said in the beginning, it's not a passion business anymore. It's a business of commerce now. And it's money matters. Money is everything. And the only thing that matters these days to all these people. They put in the year or two getting that film ready. Why will they want to keep it in the closet? So put it onto the OTT.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's very rightly put. Pravesh, I wanted to ask you one thing, towards, we're just in the conclusion of our conversation. There are a few things I want to ask you, what has been, with so much experience backing you, how's the life in Bollywood over the years, let's say if I have to ask you, has changed, from your personal experience, what are your learnings currently you want to share to the viewers? And Pravesh, also one thing that if there was anything you would have done differently till now in your journey, what would that be?
I'll answer this first. Go back to 1996 and make Daira not then, but make Daira now. The topic, the subject is still absolutely relevant. And just like I said earlier about homelessness being a world issue, the LGBT situation hasn't changed over years from when I made Daira in 96 to today. They're still fighting for their rights. They're still, a few places are opening up and giving them some freedom to have same-sex marriages or whatever it is all. So I'm straight. I am not. It wasn't like a gay film in that sense of me personally being you know, and then uh, making a film to speak. It was just a very important social issue. Uh, I pushed the envelope, talking about that subject in in a very orthodox India 1996.
Absolutely.
Um, it was taboo then, all of that. Today I'd have more acceptance in India. So I think maybe I would have liked to do Daira now. I made it 20, 30 years earlier whenever I did 1996.
Sure.
Maybe that was way too early. So yeah, that in my career I'd like to turn around if I could. Otherwise, no regrets. I've had great fun, great opportunities with Mary Jung, right up to whatever I've done and I'm doing today. Life in Bollywood hasn't changed for me because I stayed away from Bollywood while being in Bollywood. So, as you know, in Bombay, most of the film fraternity lives Bandra and beyond. In
True.
North Bombay, I've always chosen to live in South Bombay. That 2-hour drive uh, keeps them away from me. So we meet only very professionally. We meet with work. I come and go. Very rarely does someone else come here. So it's very controlled, and when I choose to. So nothing has changed for me. I've lived a very different lifestyle. I've not had film friends hanging around or just ringing the doorbell and popping in and then sitting till 4 a.m. and all of those things that one hears. That happens, pretty regularly, especially within the fraternity. And I don't blame them. They have such high profile identities that if they go out in public, they're always and my mother and I were against it. My father was pretty much decided on that. Um, so yeah, so that's how I've lived my life. So nothing much has changed. I do a lot of time away from the business and film people. So that gives me the balance.
Sure.
Uh, yeah. What have my learnings been? That's a trick question. That's a trick question because there's so much to learn. There's still the next 10 and 20 years that I'm going to do, hopefully. And I look forward to learning from that. Um, I've learned nothing so far. I'm a fool. I keep making another film, and sometimes I get into trouble, and not all of them are successful. So there's been no learning, but you just keep at it. Oh, the next decade, we'll do one more interview like this, maybe 10 years from now, to answer this question.
Absolutely, we should totally do that, Pravesh. I want to ask you just to conclude our final question is, what has been your personal moments, your personal favorite moments, in your personal life or professionally, till now? If I have to ask you, your golden moments.
I'll keep my personal life out because I don't even put that on Facebook. The professional high points, plenty actually, by God's grace, plenty. The fact that Mary Jung happened and I was thrown in with the big boys, Javed Akhtar, Lakshmi Pyare, Anand Bakshi, Lata ji singing songs, Subhash Ghai directing, Amrish Puri, and people like that in the film. I was out there with the big boys on my very first film, so that was a big high point. Daira, my first national award, best film. Uh, it won best film in 1996, the national award. All the international success, the fact that it's a cult film even today in the UK, and it's so yeah. So Daira, Meri Jung, Aaj Ka Gundaraj, certainly because I had the opportunity to work with Chiranjeevi,
Sure.
and I think he's one of the finest human beings and a true star that I've worked with. I've worked with a lot of stars, uh, but I've not seen anyone like him, with the kind of fan following, with the kind of adulation, and with the kind of his own behavior and mindset.
Hmm.
The things that he used to do not just for the film or with me, but in general that I noticed and I saw, because I spent 4 months almost every day with him. I had moved to Hyderabad and Chennai getting this film made, you know. So yeah, I mean, he was just amazing, a spectacular human being, and professional. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of high points through the journey. And now, of course, My Home India being shortlisted, uh, in the Oscar run, we didn't win, but we were there somewhere, up to a certain point that nobody else has done on merit. Now, making, I'm sure, Ek Koshish is going to be another high point that will make me really proud. I know that. I know that. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Pravesh, for joining us today. And just before we conclude this wonderful interview, and I want to just say a few lines of this wonderful song from the movie Sargam, and it was Duffly Wale. And I'm not the best of singers.
Hang on, I need to get those coins and throw it on the screen. That's what used to happen then.
So let's just conclude on this, and I'll just say a few lines. Duffly Wale, Duffly baja, मेरे घुंघरू बुलाती है आज, मैं नाचूं तू मजा. See, I told you I don't have the best of
That's lovely.
Support this wonderful song, but then
it's a great tribute. It's a great tribute. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pravesh ji, for joining us, and it's been a spectacular interview and conversation with you, and I am so looking forward to what you do, and I'm going to personally ensure that I know what's happening with every project of yours. So
you'll be the first one to receive the promo for Ek Koshish. That's a promise.
That's amazing. I'm super duper excited, and thank you so much, Pravesh ji.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.